Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It is a real treat, privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys. This fantastic, what is it? Oh yeah, today is actually Thursday. It's December 7th, 2023, and it's 7 o'clock. I do want to thank you, whether you're here at 7 o'clock at night, whether you're here at 7 o'clock in the morning, 12 noon, 12 midnight, 3 a.m., 3 p.m., makes no difference. Thank you so much for being here. You have a great guest tonight, Nico Lagan, that we're going to talk about in just a minute, but I want to talk to you about something really interesting. First, I want to thank you. And if you are new here, go ahead and scan that QR code. And if you're wondering who the heck is this guy on your screen, well, first of all, I want to say a great big thank you to you because we have almost achieved our next milestone, which is 100,000. We reached the 50,000 2 weeks early. We're at 74,000. I think 500, 600. We're going to be at 75,000 in just a day or so. We'll be at 80,000, I think, before the end of this month. Anyway, I am John C. Morley. I am a serial entrepreneur. I'm a podcast host and a podcast coach, and I'm a specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and, of course, more profitable. I love to help businesses, whether they know their story or they don't know their story. I can help them find that truth. Now, I typically work with companies that bring in 10 million or more. I'm really good at finding the truth of who they are. And if they don't know what that is, I'll figure out what that is. So tonight, we're going to talk about something very interesting. It is a topic that I think a lot of times gets swept under the table or under the rug. And it is unpacking the new dynamic males need to embrace to achieve success. Actions. And we're on series 2, means we're in the second year. I can't believe we're going to be in the third year in just another 20 some days. We're on show 49. We're on episode number 6, and it is so great to be with all you. So my guest that I've been talking to you about tonight, I think you're going to really enjoy the conversation that we're going to have. But I think when we talk about, dynamics and we talk about things, it could be sometimes a little challenging and sometimes a little controversial. Now, basically, masculinity has been under attack, as you guys know, for quite a while. And Nico's been traveling the U.S. for about a year now with his girlfriend and a rescue dog. And he had been to 4 corners of a beautiful country and has no plans on stopping anytime soon. Prior to leaving Canada on his RV trip, Nico lived in the Canadian woods for over 2.5 years. For 1.5 years of it, he was alone with his dogs, imagining a long house on the top of a mountain overlooking a valley and lakes. And he's a leader in today's society and has been featured on many online publications that you guys probably know, podcasts that have hundreds of millions of views, featured in Twins Square in New York City, and many other places. And he's aimed at men between the ages of 30 to 45 who are looking to change. Basically, the virtues of good men, or he calls it the 5 virtues of a good man: a provider, a protector, courage, temperance, and faith. And I guess we're going to learn tonight a little bit about what male dynamic is, what it isn't, and how our world has changed. So with that in mind, I would like you please to give a warm welcome to Nico Lagan to the Inspirations for Your Life talk show. Hey, Nico, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing well. So, I mean, I think sometimes when we hear the word masculinity, I think a lot of times it really causes this, I don't know, it causes this stop. So if I had to ask you in a real short explanation, what is masculinity? I mean, we hear a lot of things of what it is.
Masculinity is serving. If you want to put it blunt and straight to the point, it's just about serving. Men are supposed to protect and they're supposed to provide.
So that's a great understanding for it. But when we hear the term masculinity, I mean, regardless of gender, etc., we hear all these other like things that are packed into it. But it's really not what masculinity is about. It's not about how many things you can lift in 30 seconds. It's not about whether you can eat 500 hot dogs at a football game. It's not about how good you look. I think there's been a change. So my question to you is, Nico, what's changed? Why has masculinity gotten this, I'm going to call it bad rap?
Because the average man's not masculine. It's, again, it's very simple. Look at the average man today. The average man is selfish. The average man does not lead by example. The average man does not want the responsibility of what a good man is. The average man doesn't even know what a good man is. we live in a society that's literally removed every single rites of passage that men had. Since the dawn of time, younger men or boys were trained by mature men on how to become good men. There were specific things they needed to learn, and once they felt they were ready, they had to prove that they have learned those lessons. And until they passed that exam, that test, that rite of passage, they weren't going to be accepted as a man in their community. Boys are born, men are made through trials and tribulations. But we've literally removed that. Something as we already don't have a lot of rites of passages, and one of the only one that we still had was like the Boy Scouts. And
You read my mind, Nico. I was actually going to say that I became an Eagle Scout in the
there you
1980s,
go.
and it was a very rewarding time.
Of course it
And I
was.
almost didn't finish through it. I had gotten through a lot of it. I started as a Cub Scout and went all the way up. And my dad kept pushing me, you got to be an Eagle. You got to be an Eagle. I'm like, so what? Why do I need to be Eagle? And back then, it didn't really click with me. But after I became an Eagle, I started to realize what it meant to be an Eagle. Freedom, protection, pride, honor, right? When we hear honor and protection today, we think about, well, gee, who has a bigger gun that they can shoot? What can you do? Who can you knock out? I mean, that term of masculinity has gone, I guess, from protection to being this, I don't want to use a terrible word, but a word to basically saying that these people are just trying to show off. But they're really, like you said, they're not trying to serve, are they?
Well, again, it depends. I think you're taking it out of context because at the foundation of it, men need to know how to fight. They need to be physical. They need to know how to take care of their bodies. They need to treat it with the respect that it deserves. Men are supposed to be healthy. Men are supposed to be in shape. They're supposed to have the skills to defend their families. When I call a protector, I'm really calling into the most basic term that it can. It is to defend your family. Men are disposable. Throughout history, men have protected families. They protected their women and they protected their kids. That's our job. That's why we're bigger, we're faster, we're stronger. The testosterone that we have in our body makes us more aggressive. We are the greatest force in nature. We have the potential to build like we have the potential to destroy. The society that we're living in right now has been built because men wanted to shelter their families from nature. This is one of the many ways we protect, by building societies in which our family members can flourish. And this is what this, if you look at this society we live in North America at least, that was the whole point, is to create a free society where people can flourish. Because if you look at psychology, there's only two ways your brain can work, your life can work around. You're either in survival mode or you're either in growth mode. And both of them cannot exist at the same time. It's always either or. So if you're always worried about protecting yourself from the wildlife, you're always in a situation of survival where you're looking for your next meal, you don't know how you're going to actually survive. This is what your brain pattern is. You are stuck in that pattern until you change it. And then you have a growth. In order to be in a growth mode, you need to be in a protected area. You need to be in a place where you feel quote unquote safe, where you're not focusing on surviving. You can now focus on growing. And this is what men do. This is the societies we build to allow our families to live in that type of environment so that they can grow and have a better life than we did.
But I still think sometimes it gets, how can I say, it gets off track. And we'll talk about some of those reasons in a while. One thing that gets off track is, we hear males are not allowed to have feelings. They can still be tough and they can still have feelings. I think that's sometimes a big stereotype too, that, you can't have this feeling, you can't show this. And it's almost like some of them think it's like the military. I disagree that it should be the military. I disagree. I think the people have to be, and men have to be, fighters, but I do think we have to understand what it is we're doing and not look for a fight at every corner. I think we have to understand that, just like taking karate many years ago, it is our choice to learn that, and it's good to have that skill. but we're not trying to flaunt it and say, hey, I'm great at karate. We're trying to use things in the best way. And I think a lot of times when I hear masculinity is that, I can't share the fact that I had this problem. I can't share that this happened to me because of whatever. And what I see a lot of times is people, when they try to share, they go down this pathway. I don't know if you can relate or you can share any thoughts about that.
Well, there's a couple of things that you said. That first off, what you're describing is a lack of masculinity, not masculinity. Somebody that I don't know anybody. I've been in martial arts for 20 years. I can probably count on one hand the amount of guys that I've met that learned martial art in a way to be really dangerous to other people. Most people I've ever met, if it's not 99.999%, and I've taught hundreds of people, we don't learn martial arts in order to hurt other people. At the base of it, we learn martial art in order to be able to defend ourselves, because somehow we felt inadequate, we were bullied, we knew that deep down we're supposed to know how to defend ourselves. And the more you learn martial art, the more you learn how to be dangerous, the more control you become. Like Joe Rogan talks about this on his podcast all the time. He does not like to fight, neither do I. As much as I can crush 99.9% of people out there, I don't want to, and I'll walk away from any altercation. If it's not a life or death situation, or if you're not putting your hands on me, or my family, I don't care about your words. I get insulted hundreds, if not thousands of times every day online. So I don't need to prove anything to anybody. The fact that you need to prove it is a lack of masculinity, because you're not confident in your own skill. That's prideful. So this is something that, again, this goes with what you were talking about feelings.
Yes.
Feelings, you have two choices when it comes to feelings. They control you, or you control them.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your two options. Nobody is saying that men shouldn't be emotional. What people are saying, especially me, is there's a time and place for everything.
Absolutely. There's a proper place for everything.
You don't get to lose control whenever you want and act in your female energy. You don't. You're supposed to be stoic. You're supposed to be in control of these, because at the end of the day, we are dangerous beyond measure. Men in general, because of the testosterone that we have in our body, are vicious. If I were not in control of my abilities, if I was not in control of my emotions, I would be able to cause extreme harm. And look at what's going on right now. You look at, yet again, there was another one. There was a shooter yesterday. That's a massive lack of masculinity. This is somebody that is not in control of himself. That is somebody that is mentally ill. He has issues. This is the complete opposite of what masculinity is. The guy that will jump in front of him to save others, that's a masculine man, because he's serving others by wanting to protect them. It's very important for men that we learn to control our feelings and our emotions. And this is what we're seeing today. We're seeing men that are not in control at all. At all. Look at the average man out there. Does not control his emotion, because he's been said his whole life, not only that he doesn't need to be masculine, that there's no difference between men and women anymore, so he gets to act out whenever he wants. But this is extremely toxic. When they're talking about toxic masculinity, it's not masculinity that's toxic, it's the lack thereof that is toxic. And unfortunately, this is most men today. They have no control over their emotions. And the worst part is that they don't even know how to fight, so they're not even dangerous. This is the worst part. This is the fallacy in all of this. But all to say that men are supposed to be stoic. It is okay to have feelings, but your feelings should be shared in a very precise manner when it's supposed to be shared. There are men groups to allow for those types of things. They're behind closed doors. They're in places that are designed for men to be around other men. This is what men need. We need to go back to a time where men are around men, that there's no women, there's no children, it's men around men, and they get to be men. And you know what? I'm 41 years old. Leave me with enough men that know how to fight. At one point, we're going to wrestle. At one point, we're going to stop playing, we're going to start playing around, we're going to tease each other. Like men,
Sure.
Men tease each other, we insult each other, we push each other, we're physical, we like that. And
Yep.
This is not toxic. This is just what men do. But it's an extremely controlled matter. This never turns into a fight. It's just
It's just some fun. It's just some fun playing. I mean, it's like college. I mean, stuff like that has been around for a
100%.
while. But I think as the different generations, like millennials, and I'm noticing it not so much in the Z generation, but the millennials, like they have this entitlement to them.
Mm-hmm.
and they feel that they're masculine, but they're really not.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making all these excuses. Well, I do this or I make this, and I can kill you. Well, that's nice, but it's like you're like it's like you're sounding the alarm for something. No one's trying to attack you. We're just trying to, and I think, I don't know if they were out to lunch when they were giving out brains, or some of them, but it just feels like they missed the whole transition, which my error got, your error got, and other errors got, and hopefully the new generations are getting. But I feel like, I don't know if it was because there wasn't a male role model around. I mean, scouting was a great thing for me, I have to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Scouting was a
100%.
great thing. 4-H was a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteering was a good thing. Okay, going out and you know doing things like whether it was tag football or whether it was wrestle, and I said, oh
Mm-hmm.
gee, you shouldn't do that, you're going to hurt somebody. But I have to disagree. If you're doing it in a way, we're not trying to hurt the other person. Oh, he'll say, oh my, you shouldn't be playing with him because you're going to get hurt. Well, we're not,
It
you're gonna,
happens. We're
it
guys.
happens.
It happens. It
It
happens.
happens. But that's not the intent of the other person. The other person is
No,
not trying to kill you. And
we're
I
having
think
fun.
a lot of people, they get very, parents, more the ladies, they get more concerned, like, oh my gosh, you guys shouldn't be playing together because you're fighting. Well, no, we're not fighting. We're just kind of expressing.
But
And
that's
I
why
think
women cannot teach a boy how to become a man, nor should they. It's a
they'll
job.
disagree with they'll disagree with us every day, though, Nico. You know that they'll disagree every
I,
day with us.
that's fine. Name me one. Listen, I was raised by a single mother, right? And back then, 27 years ago, I was an exception. Now it's almost a norm. 33 to 40% of young boys are raised without their father in the family, like without in the family household. So basically, they don't have their fathers around to teach them what it is to be a man. A woman cannot teach a boy how to become a man. It cannot. In the same way as a father cannot teach a daughter how to become a woman. The
Absolutely
only
right.
the only thing that a mother can do is to understand what his boys need and to provide the men that she knows are good men for him to
Good,
look up
good,
to.
good, good role models for him to
Exactly.
follow.
She needs to surround him with places, with activities, let's say martial art, let's say somebody that can take him under his wing to teach him all those things that, for example, you learned in Boy Scout, because they're not taught anymore. We don't allow our boys to be boys anymore. Look at the school system in the US. From last time I checked, less than a third of your schools have PE classes. How insane is that? When I'm 41 and I still exercise 4 to 6 times a week to keep
Do it.
my
I do it.
mind
I
in
do it
check.
daily.
But
I,
that's
I
my point.
remember even
Just to
being in.
keep my mind in check.
Absolutely.
This keeps me love. I mix that with meditation and I'm capable of taking control. Not only is it good for my body, it's good for my mind, it's good for my
Absolutely.
spirit.
Love meditation. I think
But we're treating our boys like little girls. Like about 80% of teachers in school are women. They are teaching our boys how to act like women. And if they don't act like little girls, we'll pump you full of ADHD medications. Those
yeah,
kids
that
don't
that
have
that's
ADHD. They
that's
lack
nonsense. That's
they lack
nonsense.
exercise. I guarantee you, start having a 1 hour class, a PE class every single day that they're in school. You will see that ADHD level just drop. It wasn't a problem when I was young, but we had PE classes basically every day or every 2 days. We were allowed to play outside, like even on our breaks, we were outside. And guess what guys did when we're playing tag, we're playing volleyball, we're
Football,
playing basketball,
dodgeball.
we're playing something where there's some type of content with there's contact, people are hissing each other, people are just have, boys were allowed to be boys. Now we expect our boys to behave like little girls, and when they don't, we pump them full of medication because they're a problem. They're
Well,
a
there was a thing even
nuisance.
to it. Even the gym. You slap a towel with somebody. It's not a big deal. But oh,
Of
you shouldn't be
course.
doing that.
Of
But
course.
it's that whole. I think it's that whole, like you said, testosterone thing. But it's that whole challenge of I want to win. Even if we're doing like a thumb wrestling or we're doing an arm wrestling. What do
100%.
we always want to do? We always want to be competitive.
Of course. I was having lunch with the pastor at my church yesterday and I was teasing him. I tease him in church. That's what guys do. And he'll throw it right back at me. That is just what guys do. So it doesn't matter that you're at the MMA gym, doesn't matter that you're watching TV with someone. It doesn't matter if there's guys around and you let them be, somebody's
Hmm.
going to tease somebody and everybody's gonna laugh. It's just good old fun. Don't
And
be
I think when
worried if
people
guys
get
start
too
wrestle.
uptight, people
Yeah,
get too uptight about it,
of
and
course.
then they cause more of a problem. But my question to you, Nico, is why has it changed so much? We've already said it's because they're not learning. They're not being taught this the way it used to be taught.
Mhm.
Is that the only reason, or is it more of a dynamic? Is it more of society changing? I mean, I understand that they're not getting the dosage that they should be to learn how to be men, but what else is changing, if anything?
You know, it's multifaceted. Men are not men because they're not being taught how to be men. There's a lot of removal from every single rite of passage. Again, the Boy Scout is a perfect example. That's been removed, and now little girls are allowed to
And
go
now
to
the
it.
girls and now girls can be now they don't call it Boy Scout, they call it Scouts. When
It's
I heard that, I
absolutely
almost had a
insane.
heart attack.
Yeah,
They said,
it's
"Well, no,
absolutely
because
insane.
we got to allow girls. It's gender neutral." I said, "Really? I
No,
thought
it's
Boy
not.
Scouts was for boys." Well, no, it's Scouts for everyone. I said, "Well, that's a
No,
different concept. Can guys join the Brownies or can they join the Girl Scouts? No.
of course.
So, well, because they had a lawsuit, they
Mhm.
decided to allow girls to be now they don't call it Boy Scouts, they just call it scouting.
So there is a lack of masculinity, and again, like I said, 33% to 40% of boys are raised without a father figure, without their fathers in the house. Just look at the divorce rate. We're talking just under 50% of marriages end up in divorce. In
Yep, yep,
90% of those cases, depending on the education level of the woman initiates the divorce.
yep.
You're looking at between 70 to 90% high school diploma versus 90% if she's university educated. In 90% of those cases, the boys, the children are with the mother. And yet, you look at the statistics. When a boy is raised by a mother, he has more chances to become homeless. He has more chances to become an addict. He has more chances to have emotional issues. He has more chances to end up in jail. He will do worse in school. Yet, if you look at the 10% of children that are raised by their father, is the complete opposite. They do better in school. They have less chances to be in prison. They have less chances to become addicts. So not only is there a massive bias in family law, but there's an opinion out there that is lying to people to say that mothers do better parents. And I'm not saying that fathers are better parents. Both of them should be there. There are things
Absolutely. I mean, they're
there
both good at certain things. The mother could teach certain things, but the
there
father
are
could teach certain
gender
things.
roles. There are
Yep.
gender roles. But men are more logical. They're more authoritative. They're more disciplined. They will teach that to their kids. Women are supposed to teach the emotional aspect. Emotional intelligence comes from the mother. The
Yep.
caring, the compassion, the loving comes from the mother's side. It's not a masculine trait. But
W-
yet, studies show that in order for a woman to teach that to their children, they need to feel protected. They need to feel secure in their own household. So, men, by serving our family, we enable the mothers to teach the emotional intelligence that our children need. So, when you're asking me what happened, what changed, everything changed. Every single aspect where men are allowed to be men or men are allowed to be shown what it is to be a man has a feminine opinion in it. It's only women or very feminine men that will disagree with the way boys are. If I look at, so we were watching a movie and we see a boy defend himself against a bully. If the school would call me, I would laugh. I would just laugh at you. You're trying to tell me that somebody bullied my son and he knocked him out? He gets whatever he wants tonight because he did what he defended himself. Good for him.
Sure.
He set an
Sure.
example for the other kids that you need to stand up for yourself because bullies are cowards. This is a lesson that once a boy has understood, he will carry that for the rest of his life. And you know what? My girlfriend looked at me. She's like, "That's what he's supposed to do too." There's
You
that
you knock you
big.
knock you knock out that one bloody nose. Not nice to say, but you knock out that one bloody nose, right?
Yeah.
He never bothers you again. You give him that one bloody nose.
Nope.
You got in trouble with it because I went to Catholic school. I went to parochial school, and you got detention for punching him out
That's
and
fine.
getting a bloody nose. And you had a right. I must not give him a bloody nose because that's what you have to do. And my dad's like, that's crazy. I said, well, Dad, that's what they made me do. I had to write, I must not. I said, I'm not going to pay attention to it, but I just wrote, I must never
Yeah.
give a boy a bloody nose again. Like I had to write that so many times because Sister Mary Teresa, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I get where they're trying to be, but I think in the same token, they're taking something away. There was a good story a long time ago when somebody's trying to learn how to provide for themselves.
Hmm.
And the one story goes that if, I can give you food today and
Yep.
you can eat for today,
Hmm.
or I can teach you how to catch your own food and you'll
Yep.
eat for life.
Hmm.
I think as men, we're more on that prowl
Hmm.
that we want to be curious, we want to be courageous, and we want to just be how can I say, we want to be non-stopping. I remember there was a gentleman, I'll call him a gentleman, but he was a political official. I say gentleman to be polite. I was
Close
involved in
enough.
a charity, and he didn't like me because I just never took no for an answer. Well, he called me into his office one week. His admin did, and they wanted me to meet with him. I think she called me on Monday. She said, "Such and such would like to meet with you. When do you have available?" I knew what he wanted. I said, "Well, I'm available this Friday." They go home at 4:30. I'm available this Friday at 4 o'clock, or I'm available next Tuesday at 8:30. Now they come to work at 8. She's like, "Is that the best time?" I said, "That's the only time I have. And if we wait it, I don't even know if I can meet with you for another 3 weeks after that." She's like, "All right." She's like, "I guess we'll take the Friday at." So I go meet with him, and he said to me, "John," he goes, "When are you ever going to give up?" I said, "Excuse me, sir. When are you going to give up? Like, when are you just going to realize you're done?" And he said, "By the way," he says, "you had a great idea with helping people shop local. Thank you so much for the idea. We're launching it, and you're not." I said, "Oh." And then he's like, "When are you going to give up with your organization? When are you going to realize we don't need an organization like yours? We just don't need it." So I sat down in his comfortable chair. I closed my eyes, Nico, like this. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Sir, I don't want to lie to you. I want to give you the exact year, the exact month, the exact day, hour, minute, second that I'm officially going to give up. Just give me a minute." He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay." And I come back and I say, "Sir, I'm going to give up." He's really excited. When a little baby boy or a little baby girl, he's like really tells their parents they don't want to walk anymore. He looks at me, he's like,
Yeah.
well, funny, and I wait for him to say something because the person who talks first loses. And he says to me, he says, "When the heck is that?" I said, "Sir, may I ask you a question?" "Yeah." "You have two, a boy and a girl, right? A boy that just left college as a senior and a girl that's going in as a freshman, right?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Let me ask you another question. Do both of them walk?" He said, "Yeah, they both walk." I said, "Okay. Let me ask you another question. When did either of them tell you that they don't want to walk anymore?" He's scratching his head. He's going crazy. "Never." I said, "Sir, I always knew that you were a smart and intelligent man the first day I met you several years ago. And that's when I'm going to give up. Never." He took his hand. He said some choice words to get the blank, 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 blank out of my office. He goes, "You're arrogant." I said, "Sir, I never needed you. I was coming here with an olive branch in the hopes that we could work together. So we'll keep playing this cordial little colloquial game that we play in public, because that's what we do in politics. But you and I know the truth, don't we? Someday you're going to leave office, and I'll remember this conversation, and my friend will be in office, and he'll help me much more than you did." 6 months later, I saw an email come across my desk to a lot of other people in the town, and he says he's retiring. Not
Mm.
just me, but other people wore him out. And my best friend was running for office. He got in. Now, as soon as my friend got in office, nothing is an issue anymore, Nico. "Oh, John, we'll be happy to help you. Anything you need." Because he had turned everybody against me because he didn't like the fact that I was a bull in a china shop. We don't like bulls in china shops here. We like to run a very orchestrated community.
No, you took control away from him. Is what actually happened, and you were a lot more polite than I would have been, because I would have called him out right to his face to say no. You know what? You don't know. You don't need me to a point where you steal my ideas.
I had the best time,
Ironic,
Nico.
isn't it?
I
Ironic,
made
isn't it?
friends with everybody in the community,
Yep.
also a first responder. And I remember one time I was doing something for the Boy Scouts. I was helping this kid, I'm an Eagle Scout, to do this project. So being an engineer, I go out there and I say to the kid, let's say his name was Joe. I said, Joe, what are you doing? He goes, I'm digging. I said, digging where? He goes, right here. I said, do you have permission to dig? He said, yeah, I'm digging here. I said, did you talk to the engineers about this? He goes, yeah. He said, I could dig. I said, hang on a second. I asked the community public work. I said, hypothetically, if we were to dig right here, what would I hit? Because you don't want to dig right there. I said, why not? Well, there's electrical wires and there's a gas line. Really? I said, so you shouldn't be digging here, should you? He says, absolutely not. So now he stops digging. I cause a whole big ruckus. The people of the town get notified. The head administrator comes out to me and says, John, he goes, this isn't your party. This isn't your parade. Okay. So this isn't your thing. You don't run this. I said, well, I just saved you a big explosion. Well, that may be so, but this is not your decision here. Do you realize I saved you an explosion today? That may be so, but now we got to call an emergency meeting to go over with the boy what you caused. What did I cause?
I wouldn't have gotten involved either. I would have just watched him, let him learn. Those are good lessons.
I didn't want the kid to get hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
And so the boy liked me, and his father liked me quite a bit. The person in town turned him against me, saying, oh, you don't want to work with John. John's not a good person. He kind of went below the lines. And he's somebody, you can't really trust. Now, I didn't get angry, but I just knew that someday, Nico, I was going to get my time and that he was going to go away. And it's funny because some people that are in control, I always say this, when you have more power, you have less power. So I always say, walk softly with a big stick and never need to use it. When you have to show somebody that you got this power, you really don't have it. But when people know you can do something, but you don't, that's when you have some more respect. But I think the point here is that he was definitely acting in a male way. And every time he saw me, so what he did, I think it was the next day, he calls the town attorney on me. And he tries to get the police department to come and arrest me. And I talked with the sergeant. I said, sir, what'd I do? He says, I don't know. He says, you didn't do anything wrong. He says, first of all, we're not arresting you. I said, okay, why? He said, I don't know. He said, that guy wanted us to arrest you on some cause that you're trespassing on public property. And I called the attorney up and I said, look, I said, you're just writing toilet paper. And it's a shame that our taxpayers are paying you to write toilet paper because you and I both know that what you're writing is never going to stand up in court. And it's funny, though, how sometimes males cause this dominance, but the dominance is really not a true dominance. I think everything should be based on integrity. This was not based on integrity. This is based on I'm controlling.
Masculinity, which, again, like I said earlier, this is not masculinity. This is feminine energy. This right there is feminine energy. That's what women
what he was doing. Yeah.
Yes, because if he was a man, he would have talked to you directly and say, "You and I have a problem. This is the problem, and we either resolve it or we deal with it." This is
what I said to him after this whole thing was over. I said, "Sir, you handle things your way. I handle things my way." I said, the way I would have handled this is I would have said, let's have lunch. Let's talk about our issues together and let's work them out.
That's what men do. They sit down and they figure it out.
No, he just decided he was going to get the police and get the law and get everybody around
because he's he's acting like a little girl. He wants other people to do his bidding for him because he doesn't have the courage to do it himself. That's what it comes down to. This is not a power play. This is a coward play. Because as you said, I agree with you. When your stick is so big, you don't need to show it. People know that it's that big. But he did not know. You cannot be a man if you do not have courage. This is the foundation for everything.
I agree with you. Courage and integrity, I think, are the two. Courage and integrity, I think, are the two main staples, or one of the two main staples for masculinity. Courage and integrity.
Selflessness.
You're supposed to. And then there's a lot of people too that they say they want to protect and they want to serve, but it's funny, Nico. They want to protect and serve on their, let's say, prerogative or on their choice. So they say they want to protect and serve. Well, it's not convenient for me to protect and serve today, so I'm not going to do it today. So I won't be a male today.
Yeah,
I'm busy. I'm tired.
you
I'll
don't get
do
to
it
do
next
that.
week.
You don't get to do that. That's why
No,
being a man is hard. Being
that you
a
can't turn
masculine
that
man is
switch
hard.
off. You can't say, "Hey,
No,
I don't want to be a male
no,
today because I'm tired of work."
no. That's a feminine. Again, that's a feminine trait. Men are supposed to serve. It sucks to be a man because you're supposed to be selfless. You're supposed to do what needs to get done when it needs to get done. This is what we
Eh,
don't want to. You know, there was this story. I should learn their names, but there was this story about a transgender woman. So she was a woman. She became a man. Whatever you feel about that, but the point is
Okay.
that after a year, she committed suicide because being a man is so hard. Women take it for granted the power that they carry with them at all times. They have massive amount of power because men love women. We care about women. And men protect women not because women are weak, but because they matter. Because we love women. We feel the need to protect them. And no matter how many women are going to tell us that they don't need men, men will still protect them because that is what we do. So there's a good reason why 90% of police officers are men. Same thing for firefighters. Same thing for security guard. Same thing for military. Because we want to protect. It doesn't even
Protect and
matter
serve.
that we're not respected for doing it. We still are going to do it because that is coded in our DNA. That's what we're supposed
I
to
always
do.
tell people, Nico, this, and people think I'm nuts. I say, look, like me, love me, or hate me, and I'm still going to go on. I'm still going to do what I need to do, whether you like it or
100%.
not. It's irrelevant.
Are you doing what you believe in? Are you doing what your heart's telling you to do? Are you doing what you know to be true? Yes,
Oh, absolutely.
that's why you need courage. That's why courage is number 1. Because if you don't, you're not. See, this is another thing that people don't talk about. If you're not courageous, you're not trustworthy. Because if
Yep,
you're
I
not
can agree with
courageous,
that.
that means that every time there's a stress situation, we don't know how you're going to react. So you are not trustworthy. Without courage, a man cannot be trusted.
What do they say? You're like a loose cannon. Like you can't
Yeah.
you can't tell. Like, and I've known so many people that have graduated college in the last 5 or 10 years, and they fly off the handle.
Mhm.
And I think they fly off the handle because they can't handle being male. And this brings me to another point. We hear things like he can't be a male because he's this, can't be a male because he's that. And all these stereotypes, maybe women have put them in, maybe other men that are acting in coward fashion are putting them in. Well, you're not on the force, so you can't be a man. Well, just because I'm not a firefighter doesn't mean I'm not male. Just because I'm not a policeman. I mean, so everybody has all these different things. Or just because I don't have my black belt, I'm not. So I think a lot of people put these false things in there to basically, really, I think to give them a power play.
But again, that's what a lack of masculinity is. Because you don't need to be saving babies from burning buildings in order to be courageous. Just
No,
standing up for what you believe in, which is something that most people don't do today. Like I say this on social media all the time. If you're not happy about what's going on, post about it. Say something
absolutely.
about it. This is the easiest thing you can do. Your phone is right there. Everybody's glued to their phone. Learn how to speak to your phone and post what you think. This is courage right there. You know how many times I get insulted? I did a video about this morning. There's a dude that sent me 20 different messages this morning, insulting me on every single one of them, calling me gay, calling me this, calling me a
Oh,
bunch of
jeez.
stuff. No, but that's fine. I deal with guys like that on a daily basis by the hundreds. And you know what? Not a problem. It's not me that you hate, is you hate yourself.
You hate yourself, and you're
You
pushing
have
it up. I had a friend like that at a college, and he didn't know who he was, which is totally fine. But he was taking it out on me because I was just saying, "Hey, what's up?" Somebody that couldn't even equate with life. Somebody that when you go out to lunch or you go out to dinner, I always say you can judge somebody. I don't mean judge in a bad sense when they're not nice to other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big sign. Like we were
The way
there,
they
whether it
treat
was a male
waiters.
waiter or it was a waitress. And I know
Yep.
if you're being that, well, get me the drink, darn it. I was like,
Yep.
why are you talking like that? Well, he's just a server.
He's
I
just
said,
the
I
help.
was a server many
Mm-hmm.
years ago and I was a black tie. I said, that's not right. Yeah, well, these people, this is well, I said, this is their job right now. This is they're earning money. They're working very hard. And when I called him on the carpet, and I remember we were at a bowling alley one time, a friend of mine, and I said, look, and he wanted to get a lane. He's like, well, you know who I am? I said, not really. I said, he doesn't care either. Well, my father makes all this money. I said, he really doesn't care. Well, we're not waiting 2 hours for a lane. I said, they don't have any lanes. You can't threaten him. Like, they're busy. But when you're rude to a server or a waiter or somebody, that to me is the lowest class.
Mm-hmm.
And that is bad. And so when somebody does that, they feel like they're boosting themselves up. They're lifting their maleness up. But really what they're doing is they're putting themselves down and every other male that's around thinking that these people should be treated this way.
You're just
Because our
exposing
actions,
yourself. You're
what's that?
exposing the fact that you have no self confidence
Absolutely.
and no respect,
And the
because
younger people,
you can say a lot by the way you treat the help, as people call them.
absolutely, I agree. And the younger people that don't know any better, that haven't gotten the male training, unfortunately, they
Yep.
missed that class.
They think that's
Oh, I
normal.
guess it's okay. I guess I should talk to her like that. I guess I should call her those kind of names.
That's why
No, no.
leading is so important for men. Lead by example, as Gandhi said. Be the change you want to see in the world.
I love that quote. I love
Mm,
that quote.
yeah, and it's true. And it's so simple. If there's one thing I've learned over the years of content creation is that even though people might not be liking your stuff, might not be commenting on your stuff, that doesn't mean they're not watching everything you're doing. So
I
the
had a
way you behave, even
yes.
if those people are not commenting, they're watching you. They look at
I
what you're
agree with you.
doing.
I had a so we all post a lot, as you know.
Hmm.
And I was posting something, and I think in all the years I've done this, I got banned twice. Now, let me explain why. Now, I never get banned with my content because my content doesn't sell, it educates people. So, if somebody's going to ban me, there's got to be a reason. If I'm not selling, why would somebody ban me? So, my own community, I got banned. And I was saying to myself, how did I get banned? I don't get this. So, I was banned from posting new content, but I could comment on old. Other content. I was like, okay. So on Wednesdays, there's a day when you're supposed to post about business stuff. I wasn't posting about business stuff. I was posting about motivation. Wasn't selling one bloody thing. And this next day, a doctor posts, and he posts, and he has, I don't know, he has 32 cars. And so I said to the board, I said, I said, Wes, we have a double standard here. How is it that it's okay when you own 32 cars or you're a doctor that you can post whatever day you want, whatever you want and sell? But when I post on any day that doesn't sell, I get blocked. I was just wondering, what do you guys feel about that in the community? Would you comment below? Within an hour of that post, it got removed. Not only did the post get removed, I didn't get an apology, but all of a sudden, my posting privileges were restored, which I thought was very interesting. They knew I was right, but they didn't want to admit it, so they just read it. And then there was one other time I got banned. I was on a group that had 4 million people. And the guy who runs the group, let's just say he has his own sandbox. Well, when people started seeing that I wasn't in the group anymore, they said, John, why don't you post in the such and such thing? I said, I can't anymore. Well, why not? Oh, what's his name? Banned you? I said, yeah, he's whatever. I said, what do you mean? Well, you see, if you're going to play with sand and you're not playing with his sand, well, then you can't play with sand. So what do you mean? Well, you were starting to get a little attention in the group and he didn't like it, so he just kind of abolished you. And I see that a lot with male. They're like, well, let's give everybody a chance. Let's give everyone a chance to learn from each other. Well, I don't want people to learn from you, so I'm just going to ban you. I see a lot of that too. But you mentioned something very interesting before, which is toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity wasn't something I ever remember hearing. When do you think that took root? Just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, when everything started to change about 15 years ago. It looks like, just look at old movies. I'm a big movie buff, and you look at movies from 20 years ago, and it's completely different. Men are not the same. They don't speak the same. They're not referred to as the same. Now you look, my buddy calls it the Homer Simpson syndrome. Look at men in media right now. They're all a bunch of, trying to be polite here. They're not represented as smart individuals. Like they're qualified as Homer Simpsons. So toxic masculinity, as I said earlier, is a lack of masculinity. We live in a world right now where we are expected to stop talking, to sit in a corner and watch sport, drink beer, and get fat. That's what we're boiling down to. That's what the average man has become. And if you look at history, this is exactly what happened to Rome before it crumbled. This what's happening today happens every civilization, every great society goes through what we're going through today. That's why the saying that hard men create good times create hard men create good times create weak men create hard times, and hard times create hard men. So it's always a cycle. It never ends. And this is what we're seeing right now. So it's just for the day that you call men being toxic is because you have no idea what men are anymore. All the traits that I've ever seen described as toxic masculinity are traits that men should not possess. So they assume that because somebody has a male body, they're toxic. That's the problem.
It's a stereotype.
But there's a double standard too. Because if you look at a woman, that if a woman loses her cool and starts bossing people around, she's empowered. If a man does that, he's part of the patriarchy. He doesn't care about other people. We always get called names. Right now, women are more masculine than the average men. Look at energy, and I'm talking, when I say men and women, I'm talking energy. Because yes, men are supposed to be manly. The physical man is normally supposed to be manly, and the physical woman is supposed to be feminine. There are men that are more feminine than others, and there are women that are more masculine than others. But you look at today, women are being told to be more masculine. Women, I was talking to this woman on a podcast the other day, and she was explaining how she just got divorced from her husband of 18 years. And we started talking. We say I'm starting to be invited on women's podcasts to talk about masculinity, which I absolutely love. But she admitted to me, and it turned almost into a counseling session, but she started admitting to me that she regretted not letting her husband be a man. And this is what's happening more and more. We're not allowed to be men anymore. We're supposed to behave. We're supposed to sit in a corner and do nothing. And when men try to be men, they're called toxic. Because it doesn't fit the ideology of what men have become today, which is weak and castrated. Men are castrated today. We're just I don't even know how to describe it. We used to be a 10, we're like a 2 now. We're really just a fraction of what we used to be. And guys like me gets insulted, get called toxic masculinity on a daily basis. Just because I believe that men should embrace their masculinity. Just because men should know what it is to be a man, how to control it, because we are the greatest force of nature. We are the greatest power on this planet. We have the power to build, we have the power to destroy. So men are supposed to learn how to control that.
And because they're not getting this dosage, I'll call it,
mm-hmm.
where there's attitude, there's aggression, there's apathy. The men are blaming the ladies, but really it's not the ladies that should be the ones. The men should stand up and say, look, this is the way I'm going to be. 100%. And pretty much my feeling is, you want to date me, whatever it's going to be, you don't like it. Well, this is who I am. I'm not going to change for you. So
courage.
If you don't like if you don't like the way I handle things, or you don't like the way I deal with things, like I was somewhere the other day and they tried to rip me off. I was very polite about it. What I do, and they don't tend to like it, I said, well, I said, the last time somebody did that to me, you know what I did with them? No. I said, well, I went to Better Business Bureau. I went to District Attorney General's office. I went to here, here, here. I said, but forget about all that. I said, I have over 75,000 people that watch my show. I said, I'm going to make an example of you on my show. I said, and that's what you're not going to want. And the minute I say that, they choke, because they realize that once we can make an example, then once we can show people how they're acting, it's like, are they really acting like that? They are. So I think men have to realize that you can't be footed all around. Well, she says I have to be like that.
No, you don't.
Yeah, but is she going to tell you every time you have to do this when you can play? Well, she'll tell me when I can watch football. No. Well, I can't go out tonight because it's a guy's night out and I can't, because she wants me to stay home and watch it. No, you gotta work out that,
Men
and
are
that's your
supposed
issue.
to lead. Men are meant to lead. Ask any woman to make a decision. It's based in femininity. It's gonna be a pain, because I don't know how I feel. I don't know this. I don't know that. Men are more logical than women. Women are
When
more
I had this
emotional.
one friend of mine, and I said to him, I said, "What do you want to do tonight?" I just was, I just was curious. What do you want
There
to
you
do?
go. Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, we'll do this. Well, I don't. I said, no, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he couldn't make a decision, I was doing it to be polite, but I mean, I knew what I want. I said, well, do we want to go for burgers? Do we want to do this? I don't know. What do you think? I said, I'm asking you. What would you prefer? Okay, done discussion. We're going to go skeet shooting. You think we should?
There you go.
Yes, we're going skeet shooting and we're eating burgers.
There you go. But this is men that listen to their women to know how they want them to behave, is basically asking your woman to be masculine and you to be feminine. And one day,
and this gives us, and this breeds more attitude. It breeds more aggression. It breeds more apathy.
But even more than that, a woman at one point will resent you for it. I've dated women that are world-renowned doctors, to professors in university, to people that are just waitresses. And you know what they all wanted? No matter the type of masculine energy they needed to have at work, they wanted a man. They wanted somebody that would lead. They wanted somebody that would be masculine, that would protect them, that would make them feel safe. Even though they spend their days in masculine energy, bossing people around, telling them what to do, when they got back home, that's not the type of energy that they wanted. They wanted to be feminine. But in order for them to be feminine, you need a man that's ready to be masculine. If not, walk away.
This person believed that they were masculine for one reason, because they had 3 guns. See, that doesn't make you masculine just because you own 3 guns.
No, definitely not. That's just a tool.
But he believed that made him masculine. He slept with the gun and he was going to kill anybody. And I was like, that's like a stereotype. Like, that's not anything. That's just like a gun. That's like, and then to have a story like, you come near me, I'm going to kill you. See, that's a protection story. That's not really, I call it a fairy tale, because you're like becoming a male on, what is it, part-time basis? Like full-time male is busy.
But that's not male. Everything you're describing there is not male attitude. It's not something that stems in courage and confidence.
But what's the whole thing of the gun, that they want to just hold on to the gun? So that got me, that they want to just hold on to that gun like it was the best thing.
But what's wrong with guns?
No, nothing bad with the gun, but the person thought just because they had the gun that they were masculine, but they weren't.
That's because, again, that's a tool to try to make them feel comfortable, try to make them feel confident. That's what it is. It doesn't, there's so many tools that you can use. It could be guns. It could be you screaming at people every single time something doesn't go your way. You, as you were saying about your friend or the person that you know, telling people, you don't know who I am, how important I am, how much money my dad makes. This is a measuring stick for their lack of confidence. Somebody that is like that is basically teaching me that, one, you're extremely weak. You are a weak person, both mentally and probably extremely weak physically too.
Because your father might be very strong, but you're not.
But he didn't do a good job teaching you. He probably sheltered you your whole life and never disciplined you. That's why you live off the accomplishment of your father and not your own. And the fact that you didn't have anything you didn't accomplish anything makes you weak. That's why you're lacking confidence, and that's why you're screaming your daddy's name when you need something.
So our difference today does make males less masculine, but like we said, it's because of the fact that they're not getting that place to be male, to do
Or
male
they're not
activities.
taking it.
They're not taking it.
Because I don't expect my girlfriend to give me time to do something. I take the time to do something.
You do it.
That
I'm
I
doing
don't
this.
expect. Nobody's
I'm
telling me, bro, you have this. No, absolutely
No.
not. I own my business and I run my schedule. Guess what? If I'm doing something, I'm doing something. I don't need permission.
I'm going to a football game. I'm going.
I don't need permission.
Right.
Am I gonna ask her to make sure we don't have anything else? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll ask that, but you're going to make the decision. I'm doing this. Absolutely.
I'm not asking permission. I'm
No,
asking to
you're
make
just
sure
checking
that
to see if there was nothing on the schedule that you
Yeah.
had already agreed to be somewhere. But
And
I think
it's
a lot of
polite.
males today don't.
And it's also
they
polite.
do more of it as not that reason. They do more of it like, well, honey, is it okay if I go? Not, are we doing anything this weekend? Well, I really want, like, I think there's a difference.
There's a difference between serving and pleasing.
Yeah.
That's what you're describing now is pleasing. You're trying to please somebody else because you want their attention, you want their confirmation, you want them to enable you to be a man. If you have to ask permission to be a man, I have a very, very bad answer for you. You're not a man.
That pleasing is just not it's not a male thing, and you've got to stand up for yourself, and you've got to do what you want to do, and you got to take accountability, and you got to be responsible and 100%. Do things all the time, not 100%. Just when it's and we could talk about anything, whether it's losing weight. I know for myself, going from 250 to 165, I fired 7 trainers. I didn't have great trainers. They were all terrible. I made a decision that I was going to lose weight and I was going to start building my core. And then it just happened. But I don't want to do it today. Today's Sunday, or the weather's cold, or like right now I'm training for the marathon. I don't say, well, gee, it's cold. I can't run today because it's cold. No, I'm going to still run. Mm-hmm. I got to get my miles in. Mm-hmm. What's that?
That's discipline for you.
So discipline, I think, is something that males should have, but I think a lot of times they miss the boat on what it is, and because they were never disciplined themselves.
But they rely on motivation. This is the biggest problem. Most people are always talking about motivation, but motivation is attached to your emotions.
Okay.
So when you feel good, your motivation's through the roof. But when you don't feel like it, you have none.
Well, that's why the dopamine, which we talked about many weeks ago, the dopamine obviously is that natural high that gets you. And so once you start doing something and you make it a habit, that level of let's say the serotonin and the dopamine doesn't get as high as you want until you start to get into it for a while. So once you make it a habit, now if I skip doing those planks, I can't get up. I got to do my planks before I go to bed. Like it's like becomes a natural, almost like you breathe every day.
But that's what makes you as a man. The first steps to build your body. Master your body so that you can master your mind. It all starts from the body. But unfortunately, we're
almost out of time. Yep. So listen, it has been great to be with you. And before we do sign off, I just want to encourage our listeners and viewers, if they'd like to reach out to learn more about you, how can they hear about you, Nico?
NicoLagan.com or at Real Nico Lagan on every single social media platform out there.
All right. Well, listen, it has been great being with you and having this interesting, kind of controversial conversation, which a lot of people might see, but hopefully those of you that were paying attention tonight are realize that this is a conversation you kind of need to have with yourself. And if you don't want to have it, well, you're probably the person that actually needs the conversation more than anybody else.
Ain't that the truth?
It has been great. It's a great having you on, Nico. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Well, guys, there you have it. We had a very interesting evening talking about masculinity, talking about how toxicity gets into the brain, gets into the body. It gets us to be something that we don't want to be, which is not male. We talked about the benefits. We talked about why males are getting a certain way. Before I do say goodbye tonight, I want to let you know who I am. I'm John C. Morley. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and it has always been such a privilege and pleasure to be with you guys. And of course, you can always reach out to Nico at nicolagan.com. And again, what I do, I'm a podcast host and I'm a podcast coach and a specialist in helping businesses, yes, tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and profitable in their business. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have a small business or a large business and you're looking to get time on our show, reach out to us because we have opened up advertising on our show now. We'll be opening that up right when we hit 100,000 views. We're right at about almost close to 75,000. So really great to have you guys with us. And I do encourage you that if this conversation was hard for you, realize that this is probably something you should pay attention to. Have yourself an amazing evening, everyone. And remember, if we embrace our masculinity, success will be our reward. Have yourself an amazing night, everyone. Take care.